I'm an easy guy, and last week I didn't exactly see it. You know, people are saying, cover half of Rocks D Xebec's face and you'll see Buggy. I could see it, but I didn't believe it. You know, I said we need to wait till next week to get a little bit more proof, to see what Rox has to offer. And then we got that Rocks D Xebec bounty poster, where he's posed up just like a Buggy the Clown. Surely, Oda knows what he's doing, right? Surely Oda goes online on Japanese Twitter even and sees what people are saying, brother, because that's no coincidence in my opinion. Welcome back in, you guys. We got One Piece chapter 1155 here today. It is out, it is fire, and we are here to talk about it. So to kick things off, you know, I like to tackle these things chronologically. We got the color spread, and let me tell you, I have no real takeaways from it. It's a cool looking color spread. You know, we got the Straw Hats jumping around what seems to be, I don't know. I was going to relate this to a country. I was going to say China for some reason because I saw the tiles, and then I looked at the rest of the color spread. You know, I kind of zoomed out away from the tile work, and I said, yeah, that's not exactly China. You know, this is just the fantasy world, man, and I'm all about it. I will admit, though, I do like the penguins that are flying in this color spread. It really made me think about penguins for a minute. If penguins could actually fly in real life, that would do so much great PR for them. I feel like if penguins actually flew like this, I feel like people would band together and stop climate change. But no, the penguins, they can't do this, so nobody really cares about them, and I don't blame them. Penguins are kind of lame. They don't even come in these colors, right? We got blue, we got green. One of these penguins has Zoro's hair. One of them has goggles on. One is red. Why can't real life be this fun? So, getting into the chapter now, enough tomfoolery, we have Rocks and Loki, and they have a cute little interaction here where he's like, hey, wait, you're Herald's brat? I have an idea. Why don't you, Loki, go home and say, I've been hurt. You know, I fell from the sun realm. I need my dad home ASAP. Loki says, no, I'm not going to take orders from you puny humans. And that is when Rocks, he's like, okay, if you're not going to say that you're injured, I will make you injured. So he goes in and he lands a nut shot on Loki. Look at that panel. It's actually a nut shot. You know, Loki's body, his head, everything, it's up here. Rocks aims for below the belt. This madman, of course, he's human, right? I feel like naturally that is where you'd kind of hit if you're on the ground. But still, it's a little kid, man. You know, think about his anatomy. So, while Rocks lets off this blow, we get a crazy narrator box that says, Rox's swordsmanship was renowned for its brutal impact, akin to a giant hammer or cannon fire. It is said to blow everything in the surrounding vicinity away. Brother, this guy isn't even a pirate captain yet. Yes, this is after he acquired Whitebeard, Stussy, and Shiki. And yes, it's after the Revery, but still, to have a legend like this already? Damn, you know, that's kind of crazy. So, you know, I read the spoilers, and when they talked about Rocks being a unique swordsman, I was really curious about this. I had to see the panel for myself to actually deduce, or at least piece together, what is going on here. You know, I was like, okay, maybe this is a devil fruit, maybe this is a haki attack, maybe this is a unique sword. And after looking at this chapter, I am leaning towards this being a haki-based attack. I mean, he's posed up like Roger doing the Kombusar, for God's sake. And not to mention, but we also see the black lightning coagulating around his blade too before he lets it rip. I think the oddest part about his attack, though, is that when he lands it on Loki, you actually don't see black lightning coming out of the impact. It almost seems like it's releasing inside the blade and shooting outwards like a shockwave, which would be kind of weird, right? For Roger's Komusari and Shanks' Komusari, for example, when they do the attack, you typically also see black lightning on the receiving end of the attack, but in Rox's case, or at least in this page, you don't get that. So Rox is using his Conqueror's haki differently, in my opinion. Right? Like Joy Boy's knot is another example, right? Joy Boy imbues his Conqueror's haki into a knot, and when it does that shockwave effect, you see the black lightning everywhere. But Rox doesn't have that here. So what's going on? Is he using his Conqueror's haki in a different way? Is this perhaps what Scopper was alluding to when he said, hey, Luffy, be mindful of how you use your conqueror's haki. You know, those guys are not immortal. Just use your conqueror's haki differently. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is another form of mastery over conqueror's haki. Or Oda just forgot to draw in the black lines, which is no big deal. So moving on with the chapter, we see that Rox's blow was so strong, it blew us into another flashback. Yes, that is right. We go back 8 years into the past, and we see the Revery in which Herald and Rox actually met. And we start off strong. We have somebody saying, someone attacked and kidnapped 5 of the kings in the Revery. And someone else says, unbelievable. That big man in black has to be the culprit. I was excited at first. You know, when I was reading the chapter, I was jumping for joy, clapping my hands like an idiot, because I thought we actually had Rox's color scheme. And I was like, oh, he's, you know, he has black hair, black cloak. That's awesome. But that is not the case, because we do learn later on in the chapter that a lot of the people up here in the Holy Land believe that King Herald is the actual perpetrator. So the big man in black is actually King Herald, and as far as Rocks D Xebec goes, we still don't know what color he is, right? What color his cloak is, what color his hair is. It's all still left up in the air right now. And I am kind of excited to see what kind of color scheme Oda's going to give him, because every time we see shading or, you know, something that's lightly colored in, it's like, oh, it's blonde. He has white hair. He has black hair. And then we get the official coloring, and it's like, oh, Loki? Yeah, it's got purple. Katakuri? Yeah, that's crimson. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess we'll take it. Which I gotta say is why I was really excited for the God Knight volume cover that Oda almost did, because we would have had official colorings for all of the God Knights, but Oda did end up going with the new Giant Warrior Pirates instead. Still a very beautiful volume cover, but at the cost of Shamrock's color scheme, Gunko's, Killingham, Sommers, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. So we go on and we see that Rocks D Xebec, he didn't just break into the Holy Land and kidnap a couple of kings. No. He actually went deep into the Holy Land. He went all the way to the hidden flower room. What? Huh? We, as the audience, do not even know where this room is. Right? We have no clue. Is it in the main castle? Is it in the West Wing? Is this the Phantom Room? We have no idea. But you're telling me Rox made it all the way there? How? How does he even know that Emu exists? Like, just think about that for a second. Rox came here with a plan. He came here to negotiate, to kidnap kings and use them as bargaining chips. That must mean that he knew all along that somebody was actually sitting upon that empty throne. How? What? I have no idea what to even make of this scene, but let me tell you, it is a great scene because Rox is ore farming and so is Emu, right? This is one of those scenes in anime-manga where the author makes it to where both characters look good in the scene and out of the scene. Because on one hand, I've seen people saying, oh, you know, Emu doesn't want any of that smoke, or, ooh, you know, Rox is a loser, he can't beat Emu. And it's like, guys, you gotta admit, right? All of that aside, I think they both walked away from the scenario looking really freaking cool. Like, again, how does Rox even know about this room? How did he get here? And why is he just sitting, right? We have the ruler of the world here, and Rox is just chilling with his gun out, man. And then Emu's over here playing with butterflies. Like, Emu does not care about this guy one bit. Love it. So Emu says, hey, the lives of those kings, those sovereigns, they cannot be used to extort Mu. So it does seem like Rox wanted something from Emu. We don't know what it is. Is it money? Is it power? Is it a position in the WG? That's a hazy one, right? We do know that Rox wants to take over the world. He wants to bring the Celestial Dragons and World Order down. So how would he have done that? What would he have wanted from Emu? Would he want Emu to reveal themselves? Would he want Emu to, I don't know, bend the knee to Rox? Either way, of course it doesn't work. And Rox is like, yeah, this is a bad plan. He doesn't say that verbatim, but he says, hey, no kidding. But at least I threw the Holy Land into chaos, huh? You know, at least he has some solace there. And while this is going on, we actually see Gunko in the background, which is pretty cool. You know, every time we see Emu in the flower room, there usually is an attendant back there somewhere. And now we come to find out that most of the time it's probably just Gunko. For some reason, though, Gunko is wearing nun attire. Hey, I don't know, guys. You know, Gunko looks great in it. Don't get me wrong. I think this is one of my favorite Gunko designs. But why? Right? Does Emu like this attire? I don't think Emu is like this, but this does remind me of Whitebeard. Remember, guys, when we first met Whitebeard and he was surrounded by nurses and leopard print? Ooh, sexy ladies. And at the time, we didn't really think too much of it, right? Maybe that's just, you know, the nurses in One Piece. Maybe these nurses all come from a leopard print fashion group. But no, Whitebeard just has a fetish for leopard print. And also, that is why Miss Buckingham, Stussy, the old lady version of her, you know, the real version of her, that's why she also wears leopard print, because that's Whitebeard's little tick, right? So I wonder if this is Emu's fetish. Is that weird to say? I mean, a guy's got to eat, you know, a guy's got to eat, man. Come on, let's be real here. If you're the leader of the world, the least your subordinates could do is dress up for you. Am I right? So we go on and we see the narrator box and they say something really cool. They say this incident would be the first and last of its kind. An intruder made it all the way to the flower room hidden deep within the Holy Land. The man claimed to be a Davy Jonesian pirate. He knew there was nothing more he could do in that moment, so he withdrew with these words. And we see Rox saying, "Just wait, one day I will be back." What a threat. What an actual threat, dude. What a madman. And guess what? Emu doesn't care. Emu just lets this guy go, man. It's crazy because, you know, in comparison, we had Sabo, we had King Cobra, we had Wapol. When they saw Emu, Emu declared them dead at that very moment. Why not do the same with Rox? You know, like, is Emu just lazy right now? Can Emu not fight? Is he interested in Rox's future? I'm not exactly too sure. Like, I feel like after a threat like this, you would want to just stomp him out before they get too strong or before they actually do come back. But Emu's fine. You know, Emu's not even sweating. So yeah, I would love to pass the question on to you guys. Why is Emu not fighting Rocks D Xebec here? Does Emu truly not care? Does he think Rox is just that much lower than him? I would love to hear your replies down below. And also, one last thing, but I just love how the narrator adds in that Rox cannot do anything at this moment, so that is why he leaves. It's kind of like a Pokemon battle or, you know, an RPG. It's like, oh, there's the final boss. The recommended level is 90. I'm only level 60. I'll be right back, you know? I love that Rox could already foresee his future. Like, okay, I can't beat this guy right now. I'm just gonna double back tomorrow. I just think that's so freaking cool. But of course, we do know that Rox never does come back because of what the narrator box said earlier, right? It said this would be the first and last incident of its kind. So it does seem like Rox never gets the chance to actually come back. But hey, even though Rocks D Xebec wasn't successful in keeping his promise in his lifetime, there's a chance he could fulfill that promise through Blackbeard. Yo, that'd be so crazy. I mean, I don't know if you guys subscribe to the theory that Rox's soul is within Blackbeard or something of the sort, but it would be really freaking cool if Blackbeard made it here to the flower room. He looks at Emu and he says, "I told you I'd be back." And it's like, wait, what? You know, Blackbeard, how do you know about this, man? Oh, dude. Oh, dude, that would be so cool. And also, this now explains why Emu had Blackbeard's wanted poster a long time ago alongside Vivi, Shirahoshi, and Luffy. It's because of this conversation right here, right? He's probably like, hey, I should keep an eye on this guy. This guy looks just like Rocks D Xebec. They have different names, but there's just something about them. I don't know what it is. So the narrator goes on and they say, naturally, this incident would never be brought to light. Ironically, on that very day, there was another intruder in the Holy Land. We see that celestial dragons are clamoring over how much they want this individual as a slave, and of course we come to find out that the person they're talking about is none other than King Herald. We kind of saw this coming, right? An ancient giant up in the Holy Land? Yeah, I think everybody would want to buy that, right? I mean, the thing is that with Shirahoshi and her stay at the Reverie, we had St. Charlos coming after her multiple times, even though she was of noble blood, even though she was with King Neptune. That didn't stop the greed of the Celestial Dragons. That was not enough to put them away. So we cut over to King Herald and he says, I'm sorry, the negotiations went south, and I know trespassing is a crime, but isn't this going a little bit too far? He's fleeing the scene, and that is when we see that the guards, the reason why they're after him isn't just because the Celestial Dragons want him, but it's because they think that he is the one who actually kidnapped the 5 kings at the Reverie. They call him the King Napper, which I gotta admit is a pretty hard epithet. I wonder if we'll ever meet a King Napper present day. They should definitely keep that epithet in circulation. I mean, hell, that's, like I said, it's kind of solid. So what's interesting about this is that King Herald is on fire. He says, hot, 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 hot. And he's running away. There's flames all around him. And I'm just like, wait, who did this to him? Because when Kuma was trespassing in the Holy Land, or when the Revs were here, nobody set them on fire, right? The Holy Knight guards, or the Celestial Dragon guards, they don't have fire abilities. So who did this? Was it a previous user of the Mirror no Mi? Is this another user of the Magu no Mi? Because we are still, 56 years in the past as of this flashback? So yeah, it could be a brand new character, it could be a former admiral, it could even be the admiral that Rox ran into, or just an admiral who is adjacent to that character. I am kind of curious, right? I really wish Oda gave us a little bit more to go off of. But yeah, at least we got something interesting to theorize over for the next week or two. Also, you know, if this is a previous user of the Magu or Mirror no Mi, I think that would fall in line with what we heard of last chapter about how somebody in this same timeline froze an army of ancient giants. That right there could have been a previous user of the Hiei no Mi, Aokiji's Devil Fruit too. So this could just be Oda recycling the Admiral Devil Fruits amongst the generations, which, like I said, makes sense, right? Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru, those aren't those guys' real names. Those are nicknames that the world government gives to the top 3 admirals. Of course, they have new ones in here like Ryokugyu, Green Bull, and then we also have Fujitora, Purple Tiger. But yeah, maybe we're looking at the previous generation's Red Dog, or the previous generation's Aokiji, Blue Pheasant. So yeah, I think that is really interesting. And I did say this last week, but if I was the WG or the Marines, I would want to keep those Logias within our ranks, man. I would not let a pirate get that. So yeah, once that Devil Fruit user dies or is about to die, I would send all the Marines around the world out on a hunt, a scavenger hunt. Guys, check your apple trees, guys, check your gardens, check your surrounding bushes, look for these Devil Fruits. If you find it, bring it back to Marine HQ and you'll get a raise. I think that's pretty smart. I mean, hell, I wouldn't be surprised if they already do that for any Devil Fruit. Like, hey, if you're a random Marine and you find a Devil Fruit, turn it in. You'll get, I don't know, like 10 million berries. Is that reasonable? I think that's reasonable. With the amount of powers Devil Fruits give you, yeah, 10 million berries at the bare minimum. Law's Devil Fruit went for 5 billion, but that's special. That's because it can give you immortality. But a regular Devil Fruit? Okay, maybe 100 million. Is that more reasonable? Let me know, guys. How much would you put on a random loot box of Devil Fruits? 10 million? 100 million? 500 million? 1 billion per? Let me know. So we go down a little bit, and King Herald says, guys, it's not me. I'm not the King Napper. And as he's fleeing the scene, we see Rocks D Xebec fleeing in the opposite direction. And he, at this point, had just murdered an admiral. Brother. This guy came up here. He kidnapped 5 kings by force. He went all the way to the flower room, left, fought an admiral, killed an admiral, and now he's running into Herald and clashing with him. What an absolute monster. And like I said, not even a pirate captain yet. Still a criminal, might not be his first rodeo, but still not a pirate captain, man. Still does not have, Whitebeard, Shiki, or anybody else around him. This guy truly is a one-man army. So, we see the King Herald and Rocks D Xebec clash. And when they clash, man, their blades, they're not clinking, dude. They are not clinking. You see the gap. You see the black lightning. They are both sporting advanced conquerors haki. Shocking? Yes. Surprising? No. A top tier character like Rocks D Xebec having this? Oh, for sure. King Herald, the greatest and strongest king of Elbaf, having this? Loki's father? Yeah, sure. But like I said, even though it's not surprising, it is still very shocking to see them debut it, man. It is still a freaking spectacle. So this clash is so profound that Rocks and Herald instantly fall in love. You know, at first they were kind of on the wrong foot. You know, Rocks was like, what's with this ancient giant? Shouldn't he be in the boonies? And then Herald is like, that's the guy who's using me as a scapegoat. Damn him. They clash immediately. And then right after that clash, Rocks is like, whoa, you there. What's your name? We then see Herald start laughing, saying, Barahaha, my name is Herald. And Rocks is like, oh, I'm Rocks. Hey, Herald, aim the attack that way so that we can flee properly. They send this crazy shockwave out. And of course, because of this clash, because of the direction, it blew everyone within a 5-kilometer radius away. Brother, I get it, right? An admiral losing to Rocks. Oh, yeah. But I gotta say, man, I really wish the God Knights or the Gorosei stepped in. I wonder how they would have fared against Rocks. Because I'm going to admit it right here, man. Rocks is a madman. I feel like Rocks could have taken down a couple of Gorosei members. Especially with this mastery of Conqueror's Haki. Surely he would have been able to get over the regeneration, right? I would assume so. And then same with Herald, too. Yeah, I do just wonder why Emu and the God Knights didn't do anything about Rocks. Like, Emu, I understand, right? Leader of the world, hidden figure. Sure. Yeah, Emu, chill. Play with your butterflies. But what about Gunko? What about Garling? What about anybody else from that era? What about the Gorosei? What were they doing while this was all happening? Maybe Emu told them to stand down, you know, let history play its course. Because I can see Emu being that type of character, right? Like, hey guys, I'm just observing. We're just here. We don't care what these insects do, right? We're just going to hang out in the background. I think that's fair. But at the same time, Rocks and Herald, they're kind of destroying your homeland, brother. You know what I mean? I wish we could have seen more about like what they were thinking, the thought process behind that. Because let me tell you, Rocks made a fool out of the Holy Land here. So Herald says, hey, how do I get to Elbaf? Rocks says the new world is that way. Vohaha, if you survive this, let's meet again, Herald. And King Herald says, don't be ridiculous, as if I'd ever associate with the criminal like you. And that is when we see Herald jump off the red line. And Rocks says, wait, what the? Are you seriously just gonna jump off the edge? And it's funny because Rocks is on King Herald's shoulder. So Rocks is also falling off the red line. And hey. Like father, like son, right? Herald jumping off the red line, surviving the fall. Oh, yeah. Now I can see why Loki was able to survive the trip all the way down into the underworld as a baby. Yeah, dude. The genetics are playing hard right here, man. But what about Hyrudin? What about the future king of Elbaf? The future king of the giants? When Hyrudin and his pirate crew were falling down, they were saying their goodbyes. Hyrudin didn't say that he was going to die, but he kind of implied it. You know, he was saying sorry. You know, Road was saying goodbye. He said, hey guys, I made a big mistake. I believe in Hyrudin. I am someone who does buy Hyrudin stocks. This is like, what's a good way to put this? This is like whenever I fat shame one of my best friends. Joseph, you're getting up there in weight, buddy. You are. Is that a little bit mean to say? Maybe, but I'm his friend. And I'm saying that from a place of good consciousness. I want Joseph and myself to hit the gym. I'm gaining a little bit of weight, dude. I mean, look at this. You see that jiggle right there? Oh my God, is it the ground shaking or is it my stomach? Surprise, surprise, it's the latter. So yeah, whenever I make fun of Hireden, it's not because I hate Hireden. It's because I do want Hireden to get good. And I am a sympathizer with Hireden. You know, he has a pretty not good childhood. Not as bad as Loki's, mind you, right? Hireden is fighting an uphill battle. And I really hope that by the end of Elbaf, Hireden truly shows off the King Herald genes. Hireden steps up to Loki, and he is Loki's equal. I don't know how he's going to do that. You know, maybe he gets Domi reversied. Maybe Luffy Domi reverses Hireden. Maybe Hireden has a secret weapon here in Elbaf that we haven't seen yet. Either way, I just want to be able to not look at a chapter and say, man, if only Hireden could do this too. When we saw that panel, I always bring this up. This is all I have to gas up Hireden. But in that panel where King Herald is hugging his boys, he's like, oh, Loki, Hireden, both of you, come together to protect Elbaf. It's like, okay, there we go. You know, Hireden, Loki, ooh, yeah, they're going to be a strong duo. And then when Emu released their Conqueror's Haki Blast, guess what? The main characters that got the biggest panels, Loki, Luffy, and Hireden. I believe in him. I really do. You know, I look at Hireden and I see him as the Usopp of Elbaf. You know how for Usopp we're always like, oh, you know, wait till Elbaf, he'll get a power up. Wait till he fights Van Anger, he'll get a power up. When he meets his dad, he'll get a power up. For Hireden, it's here. You know, for Hireden, it can't be anywhere else, man. It's gotta be here. So, yeah, anyways, that's like a whole Hireden rant, man. I'm sorry for that, guys. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just kind of get lost in the sauce. You know how it is, right? Sometimes you just have that, like, I don't know, Winter Soldier hidden code that just activates in you. Somebody says a word and you're just like, blah, 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 blah. That's me with Hireden. So anyways, we go on and we see that the narrator says that despite all efforts to save him, the Admiral did not survive. That's funny. I was on Twitter and somebody said that the Admiral got cooked beyond belief, and that's on the money, man. The narrator goes on and they say that it was deemed the most grievous of sins. In the blink of an eye, Rox's infamy boomed. The event sent a powerful shockwave throughout the seas, and that is when we see Rocks D Xebec's bounty poster. He's reaching for the camera, and his tongue is wide out. And like I said at the beginning of the video, this is undeniably Buggy's bounty poster. I'm not of the boat that Buggy is Rox's other son. I don't think that. I want to throw it out. I do not think they're related. I think what's happening here is that Buggy is carrying on Rox's will without ever even knowing it. Kind of like how Luffy is carrying on Roger's will, right? We have the shot with Roger. He's got his arms up talking about his dream. We have Luffy doing the same thing as a kid, and they just so happen to have the exact same line. So many parallels between the two characters, but Luffy is not Roger's son. Hell, we could even bring Shanks into the conversation. Shanks is carrying a portion of Roger's will as well. You know, he's the child of destiny. He has the Kamusari. And Shanks and Roger are not related. In that same vein, I think that Buggy could very easily carry Rox's ambition, Rox's mannerisms, Rox's dream even. Dream, ambition, kind of the same thing, kind of different. And Buggy doesn't have to be related to Rox at all. That is the glory of inherited will. Or just wills in general that get passed down. You know, I think that is what this is. I do not think that they're father and son yet. Oda could prove me wrong, right? Oda has been really wacky at times. They could be related, but I'm not there yet. But I do think there are a lot of parallels between those two characters. And I've seen this image floating around online as well. I kind of chuckled when I saw it, but people have translated Xebec from Vietnamese to English, and they're like, oh my god, guys, Xebec means Buggy! And that's kind of true. I wouldn't say it's false. Xebec does mean truck or car, which of course could be spun into Buggy because Buggy is a type of car or motor vehicle. So yeah, I do think there is something there. I'm just not on the Sun route yet. But if you guys are, if you guys have more information on why Buggy is Rox's son, let me know down below. But like I said, I think there's a lot of parallels. I think Buggy is the Rox of this era. But we'll see. We go on, and we come to find out that Rox's shenanigans did not end there. The narrator says that a ship carrying a great amount of celestial tribute to Marie's Ra was attacked. And then, the gates of justice were destroyed, and the attacker fled the scene. These stolen funds were later used to support Rox pirate activities. And brother, what a feat. What an absolute feat. And no, I'm not talking about e-girl feat. No, I'm not talking about Rox attacking a celestial dragon tribute ship, because that's child's play. Maybe I'm brushing this off too lightly, but let's be real. Who is actually on that ship guarding the treasure? Ooh, Cypher Pole. Oh, I mean, we're talking about Rocks D Xebec here. You know, we're talking about a guy who went up to Emu. Yeah, him destroying a Cypher Pole ship, a celestial dragon ship, sure. What I'm talking about, the feat I am talking about, is gigantic. It is gargantuan. It is the Bigfoot of feats. A first of. Well, technically, defeating an admiral and killing an admiral, that is a first of. But this is another first of. Because Rocks D Xebec destroyed a gate of justice. Bro. Do you guys remember how big a gate of justice is? Dude. When Luffy and the gang back in Impel Down ran into the gate of justice, they said it's game over, man. We can't get past this. Not a single person on board that ship, you know, not Luffy, not Jinbei, Ivankov, Crocodile, Buggy. Nobody could do anything about that. Even Blackbeard had to go around and, you know, get warlord access to open the gates. Because Blackbeard probably couldn't destroy it either. But you're telling me Rocks D Xebec destroyed the gates? That is actually crazy. Like, go back to the episode when the gates of justice opened. The ship that Luffy was on was like this tiny, and the gates of justice were freaking massive, dude. Rox destroyed that? Bro. But yeah, Rox did it. You know, he did it with his sword, potentially. Maybe he has a devil fruit and he just hasn't shown it yet, but I'm more so inclined to believe that Rox was just a pure swordsman. I don't know. It's still odd, because we know that Blackbeard, current day, he loves devil fruits. Blackbeard is just eating 2 devil fruits. He's giving all of his crew devil fruits. They master the art of stealing devil fruits even. So I do think at some point Rox will also show that same interest in devil fruits. But I don't know. Maybe I should hold a poll on that one, to be honest. I'll hold another poll in the meanwhile. So, narrator goes on, and they say, until that point, Rox had always acted against the WG. But after that, he started to target pirates too. In the world of pirates, there exists a long-standing tradition known as a Davy Back Fight. Pirate crews would compete in a series of matches, wagering their flags or even their crewmates in a truly ruthless game. Rox used this tradition to build his entire crew. They had won many scoundrels to their side before they even had a flag. Oh man. Davy Back Fight? A freaking Davy Back Fight in 2025? Bruh. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yo, Rox is bringing it back. And the funny thing is that I think a lot of people feel pretty sour about Davy Back Fights because of Foxy, right? People think back to Long Ring Long Land. They think about the anime and how drawn out it was. And when they think of those Davy Back Fights, they do have a sour taste in their mouths. And I understand it. You know, I like the Davy Back Fights because of the payoff at the very end. But I will admit, the first couple of games, I was pretty iffy on them, right? They're not exactly my favorite pieces of One Piece. But here's the thing. Davy Back Fights and the games that you play are usually dictated by the MC. Rox, as the coordinator of these Davy Back Fights, could potentially bring us better Davy Back fights. Same with Blackbeard, right? If we ever get a Davy Back fight in the future, the games we participate in don't exactly have to be rehashed versions of games we played with Foxy. No. Rox's games, or whoever's games we witness, could be a lot more brutal. I mean, hell, look at the montage of the Davy Back fights that Rox participated in. In one of them, we have Rox on a boat shooting another boat with a pistol or a cannon. I don't know what that is. He has something in his hand and he's blowing up the opposing ship. And another one, we have Rocks D Xebec with an axe chopping somebody's head off. And then in another one, he had a boxing glove and he punched the hell out of somebody, bro. Rox's games, I'm gonna come out and say it, but I do not think they're gonna be anything like Foxy's games. You know, Rox is probably taking this to a whole nother level, man. So yeah, if we do get another Davy Back fight in the future, off rip, I'm not going to be displeased because I do believe that Oda will capitalize on the true potential of a Davy Back game. So I kind of glossed over this earlier, but during the Emu Rox scene, I thought it was interesting that out of everything that Rox could have said to Emu, he left off by saying that he was a Davy Jonesian pirate. So you drop the Davy Jones love right there, and I'm kind of curious, right? What does that mean to Emu? When Rocks D Xebec dropped that name, did Emu relate this to somebody in the past? Because maybe he did, right? We have to remember that Davy Jones was a real pirate. Robin described him back in Long Ring Longland as a cursed pirate who claims all the treasure of the sea, right? Anything that sinks to the bottom floor belongs to Davy Jones. And it's like, yo, these legends, man, they come from somewhere. So I wouldn't be shocked if Emu knew that person, right? Because Emu, man, they've lived for 900 years. Yeah, I'm going to take a leap of faith right here and say that Davy Jones is going to be a pirate. We will meet in the Void Century flashback. Just like how we're going to meet Vanderdecken the First, which the reason why I bring up Vanderdecken the First is because Vanderdecken the Ninth, the one that we met present day, the one who's after Shirahoshi, he piloted a ship called the Flying Dutchman. And that ship is what Vanderdecken the First actually piloted as well. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the Flying Dutchman, at least in the Pirates movie, that is the name of the ship that Davy Jones operated. So was the first Vanderdecken actually Davy Jones and now it's just like a nickname? Or are Davy Jones, the Flying Dutchman, and Vanderdecken all separate? I wonder, man. That Void Century flashback is around the corner, man. I know that sounds crazy to say, but it is true, right? One Piece is in its final arc, the final saga. We got the Rox reveal. We're waiting for the Emu reveal. And with all of that, we're going to get it, man. We're going to get that Void Century reveal. And we're going to meet all of these legends. I would be shocked if Oda never shows us Davy Jones or the first Vanderdecken. They've got to come in. And also, speaking of coming in, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I got Emu in the background. Yes, that is right. The Emu plushie. It has finally arrived. And now Emu forever lives in the corner of my room. He's kind of scary, I'm not going to lie. When I first brought Emu into my household, my cats were freaking out. They saw him, they were batting him, or her, I don't know Emu's gender, right? That's still up for debate. But yeah, they were batting the hell out of Emu. At first I put Emu over here, but it was kind of blocking the One Piece sign. Emu's tall. Emu's kind of tall, man. So yeah, I ended up just putting Emu over there instead. And I will admit, every now and then, you know, out of the corner of my eye, I'll see Emu and it scares the hell out of me too. I'm just like, whoa, what is that black figure? It's like when you're walking in the dark and you see like a shadow and you have to like do a double take. That's me with the Emu. Guy's kind of horrifying. Very nonchalant though, I will admit. So we cut back to the present and we see that King Herald actually did end up coming back home. And before King Herald interacts with the Rox pirates, he actually interacts with Loki. And Loki's like, wait, Dad came back? Surely it wasn't just for me, right? And then we see King Herald and he says, hey, I know you're strong, Loki, but be careful. You shouldn't just be wandering around in the world of the undead. And it's like, man, Herald is such a good dad. I just wish he knew what was going on with Loki. that is my problem with Herald last chapter. Like, I do think he is well-intentioned. I think Herald is a great guy. But if only he knew the struggles Loki went through, man. If only. So, we cut over now, and we see the Rox Pirates on full display. Rox says, "Oh, you've gotta join my crew. The WG won't hear you out, right? You get it now? The time has come." Herald says, "Don't be stupid. If I anchor myself with a thug like you, I'll lose all the goodwill I've built up with my allies." Xebec responds and he says, "What of it? Aren't those allies government pawns? What's the point of reaching for something that's impossible? You've got to level the playing field. Don't be a wet blanket, Herald. Elbaf has the greatest warriors in the world. If something churns your stomach, you should just crush it." Crazy mentality. I'm all for it, man. I mean, he's not exactly wrong, right? King Herald seemingly has Yonko power level, man. Yeah, he should have joined Rox's crew. You know how unstoppable they would have been? Ugh, maybe that's for the best that he didn't join, actually. Dude, if King Herald was a part of Rox's crew during God Valley, would Rox have won? I don't know. You know, would Garp, you know, Roger's crew, the Holy Knights, and Saturn, and all of them, would they have been able to stop Rocks D Xebec? That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I feel like that's one of those what-ifs we kind of need at the end of One Piece. You know, this is one of those what-if chapters. Like, what if Herald was there? What would Herald's presence have changed? I'm curious. So, we go on, and King Herald turns around to Rox's crew, and he says, "You guys know that if you follow a man like him, you will only be led to ruin." And that is when we get the one-on-one panels with all of the Rox pirates of old. And bro, it feels good. I mean, we already knew that some of these guys existed here. You know, we already knew about Shiki, Miss Buckingham Stussy, Whitebeard, Wang Zhi, Silver Axe. But it's another thing seeing them, brother. Ah, man. So, I'm gonna read their dialogue boxes verbatim. Shiki says, "Following? That moron? Jaha! Don't make me laugh. We're all completely out for ourselves. None of us would bat an eye if Rox died." And we get his epithet at the time. He was known as Shiki the Wicked. In another translation, I saw that they went with the Yakuza as Shiki's epithet, which I think also works because Shiki is wearing samurai-Wano attire. So yeah, Shiki the Wicked - Shiki the Yakuza, take your pick. He's looking freaking awesome. We see Stussy, known as the Tech Bandit, and she says, well, that's not to say that his plans don't have a certain appeal that could prove quite lucrative. Next up, we got Don Marlon, I think is how you pronounce his name. I said Marlon last time, and some people are like, "Hey, Sai, that's wrong." So I think it's Marlon. Hopefully I didn't just get two names wrong, but yes, Don Marlon from the West Blue, a gangster. He says, "Have you heard of Hachinosu, the place they call the Isle of Exiles, or even Pirate Island? Countries all around the world send their worst inmates there as a form of penal exile." And what's hilarious about this is that in my last video, somebody commented and they said that Hachinosu is pretty much One Piece's Australia. You know, send the criminals over there and just let them loose. You know, see what happens in a couple hundred years. So, what's cool about this is that now that we know the true lore behind Hachinosu, that means that the previous lore we heard about how Hachinosu was the birthplace of Davy Back Fights, that happens because of Rocks D Xebec, right? Up until this point, Hachinosu is just an island of criminals, an island with gold. But once Rox takes over, Hachinosu then becomes known as the island of Davy Back Fights and still criminals. So yeah, good stuff there. As far as Don Marlon goes, or Don Marlon? Marlon. Don. I'll just call him Don for now. The Don. So this guy is a gangster. Capone Beige? Timeline-wise, Capone gets born 6 years after this scene right here. So there is a chance Don Marlon could be related to Capone Beige, but that doesn't have to be the case. Because we do know that 5 mafia families exist within the West Blue. So Don here could have been from any 5 of those families and not have been related to Capone Bej. But either way, even if this guy has no blood ties to Bej, I do still think it is really freaking awesome that we are getting another gangster in One Piece. Because let's be real, when we got Capone's backstory, the other families felt like fodder, man. You know, we heard that Capone was a rising star and he simply just executed the other leaders. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we don't have to care about the 5 families. But now that we have another gangster from the past coming in, it's like, brother, what happens here? You know, where's Oda going, man? So we go on, and the next character that gets some spotlight is, of course, Whitebeard. And he says, it was meant to be a barren island with no food, where all you can do was wait for death. And it gets followed up by Wang Zhi, the pirate guru / pirate prophet. And they say, but last year, the survivors started banding together. And why do you think that happened? And before we go on and finish off the whole Hachinosu segment, bro, Wang Zhi, we finally get this guy's design. And Oda, what are you cooking over here, man? What is this design? It's like a fat vampire. Like, people were saying that Wang Zhi looks like a mixture of caribou and korobu. And I kind of see it. You know, people hate Nepo Peace. They're like, oh, not everybody has to be related or connected. And I agree. But Oda does tend to relate or connect a lot of characters. So forgive me if I do make that connection. But yeah, I do see this weird mixture of caribou and korobu. Like if you were to put them in some kind of like Pokemon mix maker, this guy would pop out. And what's crazy about it is that this design is so bad, I kind of just wrote them off in my head until I remembered that Wang Zhi takes over Hachinosu after Rocks D Xebec dies, stays there for all those years, all those decades, and then eventually gets defeated by a united front between Blackbeard, Kobe, and Law. This person, 44 years later, is still a monster. A monster that was so powerful that it took 3 super powered characters coming together to take him down. Wang Zhi, man, do not let Wang Zhi's appearance fool you. This person's a madman, you know? I wish we could see how they fight. Maybe we'll see that next chapter. Maybe they're a bloodsucker. Maybe they have a Logia like Caribou does. I don't know. And here's the thing too, right? Some people might not like the Caribou-Corbu connection, but I do think that would tie in somewhat nicely if that was the case, because Caribou is a fan of Blackbeard. Well, guess who else was a fan of, quote, the Blackbeard of the past? Wang Zhi, right? I mean, Wang Zhi likes Rocks so much, or at least likes the crew so much, that they do eventually take over Hachinosu, so maybe that is the connection there. Maybe that is why Caribou has such a profound connection to Blackbeard. Maybe they see Blackbeard as the new Rocks, and that's why they want to follow them. So I do think that this version of Nepo Peace could actually work in some odd way. Granted, if this was Nepo Peace, it would kind of skip Caribou's generation because Caribou isn't exactly strong. You know, he's one of those Logia users who relies too much on their Devil Fruit, and they don't have any haki at all, so they just kind of get whooped. I mean, it was egregious when we saw Frankie, a guy that has no haki, put Caribou in a box, and Caribou just kind of sat there, right? Like, damn, dude. I mean, even with the Logia, you're getting beaten by non-haki users? Okay, Caribou. That's a little bit unfortunate. So now, the next character we see is Ganzui. Ganzui. Man, these names are eluding me today, brother. He says, believe it or not, Hachinosu had a massive gold deposit on it. A shadow organization found out and got involved. They helped criminals amass a fortune, and that really pissed off the government. So Ganzui here is a character we have not heard of before. We have not heard this name before. We haven't heard this epithet before. The smuggler? What is he smuggling? You know, maybe he's the guy providing cocaine to Oklahoma. But Ganzu is a character we have seen before. We saw this man back in Thriller Bark. Yes, that is right. Alongside Captain John, alongside the Vega Clawed Rocks Pirate, alongside Gilbestar is Ganzui. Moria had 4 Rocks Pirate members under his command as zombies. Moria upscale? I mean, that's a joke, but still, Moria, dude? Man, where is he getting these corpses, brother? God. So Ganzui here is awesome. I just love the callback to Thriller Bark. I love that Oda is, you know, bringing this all in. It's coming into a full circle. And what's funny is, I don't know if you guys remember, like, but back in the day, before we got the Rocky Port incident update, for the longest time, we thought that the guy in giant gold armor was actually Wang Zhi, because we didn't really have a distinction between the two. But now we see what's happening, right? Wang Zhi takes over Hachinosu. They're still currently alive, I believe. And then Ganzui is dead and in Moria's possession. Since Ganzui, Captain John, Gilbestar, and Vega are zombies, could that mean that Moria could bring them back at any point in time? I know we defeated Moria, but that doesn't mean that the corpses just evaporate, right? They should still be around. Could Moria bring these guys back? Would you guys even want that? I gotta ask, yeah, would you guys want Moria to bring back these guys as zombies now that we know what they're all about? Like, oh, we see Captain John again, but this time he's stronger because Moria gave him a better shadow. Which, I gotta say, man, Moria, why is he putting bum shadows in these legendary pirates? Because the thing is, right, the body can be really strong, but the shadow has to be near that level for the body to use its full capabilities. And vice versa with the shadow, right? The shadow could be really strong, but the body has to be able to keep up. Moria's just mismatching these shadows and bodies, man. Dude, Captain John, Ganzui, Vega, and Gilbestar, ooh, dude, they should have been pushing the Straw Hats. But no, Moria's not min-maxing. Moria didn't read the tutorial. Bad Moria. Really bad Moria. So we go on, and we see Rox's true plan behind Hachinosu. He wants to contact the world government and have them pay a fee for him to clean up the island, to get rid of all those criminals and scoundrels. But in reality, after Rox gets the payment, he's going to backstab the WG. Instead, he's going to take over the island for himself and make that his home base and capitalize on all the gold. It's kind of genius. I mean, honestly, the WG probably shouldn't pay him up front, but let's be real. The world government isn't exactly known for making great decisions. So, we go down, and King Herald, again, turns him down, right? King Herald's just profusely turning Rox down. Like, hey, Rox, I'm not gonna join you, no matter how many times you freaking reiterate it, man. I'm not gonna do it. Rox says, but Herald, this is just the prologue to my life. Using that island as a base, I will crush the Navy and bring the Holy Land crashing down. And after that, I'm going to be king of the world. Herald says, bro, your enemies are too big, man. You're picking a fight with the whole planet. And it's funny because King Herald is acting nonchalant now. He's just eating. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna hang out, man. Rox says, say what you want. One day somebody's bound to pull it off. Successor? Blackbeard? He says, there's no such thing as power that lasts forever. Join me, Herald. If we team up, we will be unstoppable. Herald again, I think for like the 10th time, he says, quit inviting me, dude. I'm the king. In the background, we see Loki is listening into this entire conversation, and he's smiling. Cheek to cheek, he is smiling. Is this the first time that Loki smiled? Let me go back up. Yeah, I don't think Loki has smiled at all. Did he smile when King Herald came back home? Let me see. He almost smiled in that panel. He almost smiled. But this is his true first smile, right? And we see it right here. The narrator box says it. it says that Loki suddenly realized he had found salvation. Loki finally has something to do in his life, right? Nothing before made Loki feel like life was worth living. But here we have it. You know, Loki wants to claim the world because of Rox. And that is why he wants to join Rox's crew. And because this is all happening, because Rox says he wants the world, people are bringing up Blackbeard. You know, Blackbeard wants to claim the world as well. Blackbeard is moving the same way Rocks D Xebec is moving. Will Loki join Blackbeard? Or will Loki form his own crew and take over the world? Will Loki want to be the next Rox? If you can't join them, why don't you be them? Maybe that's it. I will leave that up to you guys. Where would you want Loki going? Would you want him with Blackbeard? Would you want Loki with Luffy? Would you want him to be solo dolo and form his own crew? Or, if you believe in the Rocks D Xebec - Buggy parallel, do you want Loki with Buggy? That'd be kind of crazy. Oh, dude. Ooh, Loki plus Crocodile, plus the world's strongest swordsman, Daz Bones. Oh, sorry, Mihawk. Ooh, what a menace. What an absolute menace that would be. So we go on, and we see that 4 years have now passed. Herald continued rejecting the numerous invitations he received until one day, Rox's plan had finally reached its fruition. Backed by his monstrous crew, he would then send shockwaves throughout the world, and we see the Rocks D Xebec pirate flag waving. And at this point in time, Big Mom and Kaido have joined the crew. That is right. If we continue the Rocks D Xebec flashback, we're gonna see a young Kaido and Big Mom. And I'm hoping for it, dude. I pray. I'm using all my Asian powers right now. Dragon, wind, Eastern magic. Oda, please, give us God Valley. I mean, if not now, then when, right? I could see Scopper giving us God Valley if we don't get it here. I could see Garp and Blackbeard giving us God Valley. I could see... Who else was there? Maybe Garland gives it to us. Maybe Saturn. Yeah, maybe not him. But yeah, man, I hope we get it. I hope we keep on following them. And honestly, it feels like we are, right? We ended the chapter with Rox sending shockwaves. So it's like, okay, maybe we just continue on here. But I can't see a reality where we instead just follow Herald and Loki, because this is Loki's flashback, right? So it would be kind of crazy if we got all of that, right? You know, especially since Herald isn't participating with Rox, especially since Loki didn't get a chance to join the crew. I think that is where we will realistically cut off ties with Rocks D Xebec. I guess it's time to go goon. Yeah, I don't know what kind of mood I'm in, guys. Dude, it's way too late at night. I'm recording this at 3 a.m., brother. I just got off of work. I just took a shower. I got some new tattoos, by the way. Man, people were complaining about this one, but I got the latter portion of the Marine tattoo here on my chest. I just got I got the little logo right there. I got the Green Bull tattoo, too. You know, people hate Green Bull. Hey, I get it, man. Green Bull's not the best guy out there, but I think his backstory behind the story that Oda kind of described would be pretty cool. So I went ahead and invested in that stock. And plus, I wanted a One Piece tattoo. There's not exactly a lot of One Piece things that I wanted to get. I thought about getting Law's death tattoo, but I feel like that might have been too edgy. So instead, I wanted to go with some Japanese, man. And then maybe I'll get like another One Piece tattoo as time goes on, right? I do want to see more. Maybe Rox is a logo. Rox is a logo. Would that make a good tattoo? Maybe the skull. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the skull yet. Dude, Rox's skull, it has like that weird, like Sanji swirl. It has like fire hair. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, Rox's flag, maybe a no-go. Maybe the whole thing that just says Rox. Maybe that would be good. And then people would be like, wait, what? Why does it say Rox on your body? Huh? Rock what? And I'll say, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, brother. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's like the shocker. It's not for Rocks D Xebec, it's for Dwayne The Rock Johnson, man. But anyways, guys, I don't know why you're still here. That's it for this video. Make sure to subscribe down below, like the video if you liked it. If you dislike this video, dislike it too. I'm not going to stop you. You got free will. I can't stop you, brother. On the side, though, I do have some things I want to plug. I do have an anime reaction channel over at Somnus Reacts. That is where I post my reactions to One Piece, Danadon, and whatever else catches my fancy. I think I'll eventually add more to that list, but man, I'm busy, dude. It's kind of, dude, One Piece, ooh. I have a lot of collabs coming up next week because it's a break week, right? It's a break week. So I said, hey, why not hit up a couple of friends and see who wants to talk One Piece? Well, just to tease the list of people I'm going to be bringing onto this channel, I mean, obviously we have Bronco and Par, right? They're staples here. We get them every single week. I kind of feel bad for them, right? It's like I'm holding them hostage. Hey, talk to me about One Piece for like 2 hours. Yikes. Next up, we have Dax Sake. You know, you guys love Dax here on this channel, so we're bringing him back in. I also have Zonin. You know, people love Zonin as the spoiler guy, bringing him in, having a little conversation. I'm also getting Tekking. Yes, Tekking is making a reappearance on this channel. And another reappearance that people have been asking for that we are getting later next week is the legendary, that's his name, JD Legend. So yes, look forward to that, guys. We have a lot of collabs in the works. Obviously, drop your theories about this video down below. We will be going through the comment section in the next couple of days in the comment read-through video. Because it's a break week, I might be kind of lazy and push that till, later. Sorry, guys. You know, whenever a break week rolls around, I'm like, okay, now I can just come home and sleep. I don't have to talk One Piece when I get off of work. But, yeah, we'll be going through those eventually. Alongside that, though, I will drop a comment here asking you guys for video topic recommendations. Because I have so many collabs, I don't want to just regurgitate the same chapter. So if you have talking points like, oh, talk about Buggy, talk about Blackbeard, what's happening next, talk about Emu or the Holy Knights, let me know. What do you guys want to hear? And if you have specific creators you want me to talk about that with, drop that too. Like, I could see people saying, hey, Sai, ask Tekking about Wang Zhi, or hey, Sai, ask Jay about his agenda, you know? Hey, Sai, ask Braga about why he cried in his One Piece reaction. Or hey, Sai, ask Par what it's like to live in India. You know, I could see people just bringing that up, so, you know, just drop those suggestions down below. I would love to hear them. And yeah, you know, just thank you guys so much for being here. I feel like I'm kind of just, you know, serenading the crowd at this point, you know, little encore session. Outside of the reaction channel to anime, I also have a gaming channel over at Psyduck, SYVDUCK, here on YouTube, and also on Twitch. I stream on Twitch, and then I upload edited versions of those VODs onto YouTube. So yeah, feel free to check that out. I stream super late at night, so if you live in America, I'm sorry. I can't fix my schedule, man. You know, it just kind of happens. But yeah, that's up there if you guys want to see that. And I think that is it. Yeah, that's it. Also, I had a lot of people asking where I got that Emu plushie from. I got it from eBay. At first, I found a couple of legitimate websites that sold Emu, but because of tariffs, shipping this guy from Japan to America, that would have costed $200, dude, shipping alone. Didn't do that. Instead, I found him off of eBay. Of course, you know, always check your sellers, right? You want to make sure they have 5 stars, make sure that, you know, people are actually leaving genuine reviews, a lot of verified buyers even. But yeah, I bought this guy off of eBay. He was $40 US, and then it was an additional $20 for shipping, which, yeah, kind of expensive, but a lot better than $200. So I wonder how they got around the tariffs. Who paid for that? I don't know. Who cares? Not my problem. You guys have a good one. Thanks again, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace out, and stay safe, brother. All right, I'm just coming back in here for a second to say that I missed the perfect joke. I should have said that Ganzui was the one who brought Emu to America. He's the smuggler, after all. Yeah, the setup was there. I just didn't take it home. Shouts to Ganzui, though. You know, cool-looking guy. You know, he's kind of like the Rocks pirate version of Don Krieg. Am I wrong? Golden armor, Ganzui, Don Krieg. Don Krieg is on Hachinosu. We don't know if Don Krieg joined the Blackbeard Pirates or if Don Krieg is simply passing by, but if Don Krieg joins Blackbeard, is that the modern day Ganzui? I think so.